This is Dan Gurley, aka Grufton, and you're watching 100 Miles from Home.
I don't remember your name, but the feeling got me thinking you used to be good in the day. Way far back where we could people inside. We should chill, grab a drink, no one else, so it's good. If it's different, then we should be good. If it's different, then we should be good.
All right, let's see if we can get through this. We have two people that are bad at interviewing, doing an interview show for some reason.
First time, actually, for me.
Yes,
An
hey,
official podcast is exciting.
there we go. I'm glad that I could break the podcast virginity, I guess. Hey, it's mine too. We're only 3 deep into this, so everyone's gonna see me slowly get better at this. But it's good to see, man. It's been a long time.
Who knows how long, man?
I think maybe like 2014, if I had to guess. I feel like maybe I saw you a couple times outside of like school.
outside of high school,
Yeah.
but yeah, definitely some other moon shows, I think.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever play with Dwellingville?
We did a couple at Skatology.
Right. So
Yeah.
either
And
there.
then I think another at we did that like a Halloween show at the plant.
That
we
was
did.
fun.
That was a
That
good
was
one.
very fun. Yeah, so we've definitely been in the circle together
Right.
for a while.
And it's cool now, like as like it seems like everyone as we get older, there's been kind of a community growing down here in Baltimore. More and more people like it just seems like have been moving down here, and it seems like the arts are specifically growing just for people our age and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool to re-link up with people. The reason that I wanted to have you on is because 9 days ago, I remembered that we wanted to make sure we got the exact number.
On the dot.
You released, I guess, EP.
Yeah, it's a 2-song EP. It's called Pathos Procession. I wrote it with my roommate at the time, Laura Banner, who you were slightly familiar with. Also in the circle.
Right, and that's on Shiny Boy Press, right? through
Shiny
there?
Boy Press label out of Baltimore, the new multimedia label from Baltimore.
Boom, love to see it. Love to see
And
friends.
that's
like
with
that.
me, Daniel Gurley Grufton, Walsh Kunkel, and Colin Schnicker.
Awesome. Three solid people right there. Love
Shout
to see that. Talk to me about Pathos and kind of how that came to be. It's kind of cool to see collaboration, especially the thing that for me that I thought was really cool about it as I was listening to it was just kind of take something like a lot of your stuff is more digital based or analog, like in a way to kind of mix that with like an external like string instrument. Like you've seen it done in the past, but it was cool, especially in the first track. I think what's the name of
The first track's 4-gaff.
and then Law is the second
Law
one,
is the
right? Yeah,
second, yeah.
Law I like because it seems like some of the keystrokes are kind of in sync with like the plucking.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I like about the first track though is kind of like that immediate build where you get like that low,
Yeah, a lot of swelling from
right? The bow
cello.
you can feel. Like
Yeah.
I played cello when I was a kid. Like
It's not
so
easy.
I can kind of visualize like what that would look at or look like. So that was cool. Talk to me, I guess, about how the collaboration came to be and kind of as you were getting into it, what that process was like, and I guess maybe some of the challenges that you had collaborating with someone, because I'm sure there are challenges that come with that, but also like some of the technical challenges of using something external, but also the positives of that, I guess.
Yeah, so I mean, me and Laura had lived together for a year before we wrote this. We had always talked about wanting to combine these two elements of just these beautiful electronic elements that
Yeah.
they get a little glitchy at points, but they also are subtle and soft a lot of points. And to blend that with something acoustic, I thought would be just the perfect pairing. She plays saxophone also, which is her primary instrument,
Oh,
which she
okay, I
went
didn't know
to college for.
Nice.
So it's funny. She would practice saxophone in the house all the time, and I was like, you know what? The saxophone's great, but I like the cello a lot more, and it's a lot
Yeah.
more subtle. I think it blends really well with these electronic instruments. So I wanted to create an ambient release after
Mhm.
my first single that I released, which was a little more glitchy, a little
Mhm.
harsh, and had more beats and was a little more beat driven. So I came up with some chord progressions and put these into some synths. Sat on them for a little while. Did a lot of post processing on these chord progressions. Came up with a structure that was open enough to leave room for something else.
Mhm.
Approached Laura and I was like, "Hey, give these a listen. These two tracks are kind of similar. It's a similar chord progression in they're both Dorian modes, so they have this kind of like happy but kind of scary and
Right.
very thematic.
The vibe or like the emotion that I was getting was kind of almost like, especially in the first track, was like I was listening to it at work and I was like, I'm kind of getting sad but like it's not like a bad sad. Like
Right.
it's
It's
kind of like
like
this swelling, this building up, and that's the thing that I think that you said that was really good. Like finding spots where you thought it would fit, because I feel like that is a challenge that maybe artists have, where it's like layering things like that when you create like these soundscapes, like for the listener, like fitting way too much in. Where I felt like that's the one thing that you really nailed, and for me, like the thing that made it so easy to listen to. Like I would just listen to it at work, and it just put it almost like in the easy listening category, because I
yeah.
would kind of like lose myself into it. Is that exactly that? Like it would build, and it didn't feel like there was too much going on, or like too much panning going on in my
Right.
ears or things like that. And that's like the one thing that I felt like that you really nailed. So that's cool that you lived with her and kind of already, I guess, had that rapport, and I guess too, like in the writing process, I guess just knowing each other like that, not only as friends but as musicians, like I'm sure that made it
Yeah, being able to
easier.
go back and forth with each other was
Yeah.
very easy. We were like, oh, let's maybe edit this part a little bit, and maybe let's change up this section a little bit. It was easy because we lived with each other. We could throw things back
Right.
and forth
Right.
quickly. I mean, those tracks were in very different conditions when I sent them to her
Hmm.
originally. It was just a chord progression loop kind of thing, and
Right. That's a fun part of the writing
it is.
process
It's very fun
when
to
you
get someone else's perspective on it because you sit there with this by yourself
right.
forever and you have no perspective on it.
Especially when you send them like this first version, and like kind of the only input that you've gotten is yourself.
And you're like, yeah,
You
this
know,
I
like, yeah,
think it's
I'm
cool.
dope, like
Yeah,
it's
I'm
great,
sick. Right.
and then it changes. That
And then
for
someone's like,
me,
well, it's a little busy, right? We need to add some space.
right, right,
So, right, let's create a B section and a section where Laura can really shine and show off
hmm
some of her skills. Because in both of those tracks, we left a little middle section where all the
yeah,
electronic elements kind
yeah,
of cut out, and Laura's able to. Because Laura's done some improv shows as well with Two and a Half Two. No, I don't know if you remember that
mm
project. So Two and a Half Two was a Al and Colin and Walsh project.
gotcha,
So they would
yeah,
make noise music
gotcha,
with
yeah, yeah, okay,
synthesizers
yeah, yeah.
and guitar pedals, and it was crazy. And Laura did an improv session with them, so it
Nice.
was cello and noise music. So I was like, I want to get a little
That's a cool
out in the middle
combo,
of
yeah,
these tunes. As ambient they are, I think it'd be good to break it up with like a little out section in the middle from the
right.
cello.
That's the thing
Um,
that I like too, is like kind of go through those crescendos. Like you would have like the big build up in the beginning, and then kind of give it like that time to breathe, and like let Laura do her thing, and then it would kind of go back up to, and even to like I kind of like how the first track flows into the next one, and they are different. Like I said, the dynamic being like, especially in the beginning of the second track, you could kind of tell like it kind of gave it percussive too, with like the way that she was plucking it
yep.
and stuff like that. It gave it like a different vibe, where that one was more of like kind of an uplifting, because I think it's more
Yes.
of like a major,
The calm after the
yeah,
storm, if you
exactly like
will.
that.
Yeah,
Where
and that's
that
why I
one,
put that.
exactly, that's a great thing,
Right.
kind of like a storm at the beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's and so the naming of the album is really funny too. So as my whole life living with Laura, I had this pothos plant that I had inherited from someone who was kind of dying, and I had pinned it up in my wall. So it went the whole height of my wall, the whole four corners of my wall. It had covered my room. I'm sure you saw
Yeah,
pictures of
yeah,
it
that
on
was just, yeah, I
Instagram.
remember seeing that,
Um,
yeah.
and then a lot of the reason behind this EP was that we were both moving out of the house we were living together.
Gotcha.
She was moving in with her partner, and I was moving to another house. So I was like, we got to make this happen before you leave.
Right. Kind of cap it off.
And the plant was so big that I couldn't fathom moving this plant.
Right.
So pathos procession being kind of like a funeral exit theme for the
Right.
leaving of our lives together.
Seemed
in
like
this
everything
plant.
lined up there on
It was perfect.
between the plan and you guys just like doing your own thing and stuff like that, but then collaborating. I mean, I'm sure obviously you will, but kind of in that house for like the
It was
last
the
time.
like right the
Yeah.
culmination of our living together. It was a really great
That's awesome.
representation of
Like,
that.
guys can kind of have that, like looking back on, kind of have
Exactly.
that
We'll always
represented.
remember that, like living together and just being able to collaborate with each other and
That's awesome.
talk about music. It was so
Makes it even
fun.
better.
Yeah.
The one thing that I thought was interesting that you were saying is kind of like having almost like visualizations, like with the track, like a rainy thing or something like that. Is that something that you do, especially like I feel like in electronic music, or especially music that are like more soundscape focused? Do you, how important like is visuals for you, not only for accompaniments but kind of when you're writing? Do you do like visualization on some form? Do you want like, oh, like this tone that I'm getting is reminding me of some kind of visualization? Is that, and then does that help you kind of continue
Always,
as
yeah.
you
So I
roll?
mean,
Yeah.
I take a lot of inspiration from nature.
Hmm.
I find the like generative nature of nature to be fascinating. I
Yeah.
mean, you listen to the rainstorm, it sounds similar the whole time you're
Yeah.
listening, but if you pay attention closely, each drop that hits the wall differently. It makes a different sound, and
Yeah.
it's not the
Well,
same
different
sound
tonality.
every
Yeah.
every time.
And it has its own crescendos and
Exactly.
peaks and
So I
things like that.
love bringing those elements into my music because I think electronic music can be a little dry by
Sure.
nature, a little repetitive. One of the concepts I've recently come to love is something called liquid timbre
Okay.
or timbre, however you want to pronounce that.
Hmm.
So this having an evolving sound. So maybe you have a melody that plays consistently throughout a tune, but the sound that the melody is producing is always changing. So it's not
Interesting.
always this one instrument sound.
So
It
there's
kind
like a
of
little bit of an anchor, but then
exactly,
it changes.
but it morphs throughout a thing. And just I think that's beautifully represented in nature. Nothing
Yeah.
is ever the same. You look at a plant, like each leaf is different.
Right. There might be a rose, but the rose is a rose. I guess like whatever the biological makeup of it is, but like yeah, there are
But
the
it's like
little
every petal will
perfections
be
and
different. The
imperfections. Yeah.
shapes will be the thorns will be spaced differently.
That's
All
cool. I
kind of
never
stuff.
thought about that in terms of nature. I always hear people like in visualization in terms of like I talked to our last podcast, our last two actually, Lamore and Jadoni both said that they took things from film
Mm-hmm.
in particular, but that's cool to kind of have the same principle in terms of visualization or taking something externally from like a different art form and kind of lend it to your own. That's cool. It makes sense like nature would be like a big thing, but that's, you kind of always hear more things like more direct art like film or
Right.
things like that, but that's cool.
And even like you stand out on your porch, and if you live in the city, you can hear cars go by, and
Yeah.
the like patterns you hear and that kind of stuff is
Right.
fascinating to me.
That's for me has always been like the number one thing about why I like living down here, just that there always is. You can
Something to
stick
pay
your head
attention
out at
to.
3 a.m. and there's something going on. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's kind of like that homey vibe.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Shiny Boy, kind of how that came about, what your role in it is, what the plans for that are going forward, for how that relates to me. Like obviously, like there's a lot of crossover in a positive way with what I'm doing, and so that's why I'm super interested with that because like, I always look at it as like rising tides raise all ships. So
Always.
whenever the homies are doing other cool things, it brings everybody up. So talk to me more about that, how that came to be about, like what the goals and the future is looking like for that.
Yeah, so Shiny Boy Press.
Yes.
It started off as an idea between Colin and Walsh, actually.
Mhm.
So Walsh's father works for a screen printing kind of thing.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
they
I
wanted to
think I
do
remember that,
T-shirts. That's the original idea. And then I came in and was like, maybe we should like turn this into a larger picture idea, a
Mhm.
label of sorts where we can release Walsh's music, release. Colin has done video work. I'm sure
Right.
you've seen,
Yeah.
which is
You
crazy
did
stuff.
the visuals for like the last single that you did.
He did
right?
the,
yeah, and the stuff.
all the album artwork
Yeah.
for all the stuff Shiny Boy was released. He did a video, and he's done countless videos in the past for all of our other projects. And the three of us has known each other since we were kids.
Yeah.
We've been growing up forever together. So we finally decided to take all of our influences and all the things we've learned from each other and just kind of jam them into this one like overarching mask for the things we do.
Right. Kind of representing ethos between all of
Right.
you.
So it's
yeah.
not specifically branded to one thing, but it's
Mhm.
specifically branded to the culmination of the three of us as
Yeah.
an entity, and the things we like and the things we find fascinating and the things we enjoy. And that's how, like, we all know Lara, and that's how Lara came to get on this label. Our good friend Adam Summers, shout out, is going to be coming out with an album later this summer, maybe early fall. And one thing I love is just like, so the first thing we put out was Wash's single. He had took some recording sessions that he did with a jazz trio and kind of broke them down into a little more electronic groove. So that was really cool. First single. Released my single as the second single, which was stepping into the more electronic realm, getting a little dirtier with it, if you will. And then Wash released a jazz trio record, which is incredible. Three people he went to college with,
Nice.
incredible drum player, incredible bass player, and they all three wrote tunes for that album. So it's a interesting another culmination
another
there
group
in
thing.
itself.
It's like a group
A
within a
nested
group.
group with right, exactly. And then I just had the Pathos Procession EP, which I think is even another little derivative of
Yeah.
the sound that we've all been doing.
Seems like there's like an overarching thing that's like kind of like abstract,
Yes,
But-
I mean we
but
love to
within
base
different
ourselves in
yeah.
experimental things.
different little branches off to it. And I'm sure it made it easy to like finding people and people with a similar ethos with the like ecosystem of artists that you had kind of already culminated before even putting Shiny Boy
Right.
into action.
Well, it's like, how many times have you tried to just start something with your friends and it
Right.
goes a little this
Right,
way
right.
and then you kind of fall off.
Right. No,
So we're making a commitment to each other to do something. Like,
Yeah.
we have weekly meetings. We get together every Tuesday, whether it's to just kind of chat about what's coming up next or to maybe chat about something we did and
Mhm.
make plans. But I think just that commitment of like let's get together every week and chat about plans and
Right.
chat about the things we're doing creatively.
Right.
Um,
I think that's important too, because you always see artists that are like searching for a label or for press or
or
for
just
media.
trying to do everything by themselves.
Right.
It's
Or
so
try
hard.
right. So it's like kind of cool, they're reaching for like, even if it's not like a national label, even just like within the state or a big community, label and
Right.
stuff like that. It's cool to kind of see, like, and that was kind of the idea with what I was doing, which is why I'm so appreciative of what you guys are doing as well. Like, provide something like that. Like, the people, you already kind of have like a built-in ecosystem of people. So like, why not take the tools? Like that's the way that I looked at it. Like, oh, I can do video stuff. I can do audio stuff. I am a musician that's been on that grind for so long. Like,
Yes, the feeling of being in that
right,
spot.
of like chasing that and being like, oh, I just dropped my album and like
I just spent a bunch of money on this
right,
project,
and I need some form of press or coverage, or even if it's something as simple as just coming on a podcast
and just like talking to
about
an
it.
old friend, right?
Right, exactly. And that instead of sitting there trying to find it, like, I like the mentality that you guys have, because I've been trying to have the same mentality myself. That's just like, fuck it, like, if we can't find it, like, we'll just do it ourselves.
And yeah, one concept that kind of offshoot of that idea is me and Walsh have been talking about a lot recently, is that sometimes people say like, I'm waiting for creative inspiration,
Right.
but a lot of times it's just about sitting down and doing something.
Yeah.
So a lot of my best ideas have been from me sitting down and forcing myself to work on an idea that I had started.
Right.
It's really hard to pull through and finish
Right.
things as a solo act.
Well, that's important too. It kind of ties into like the first episode that we had done, like the idea of like doing one thing a day.
Right.
I think is super
Yeah,
important.
even
like,
if it's 10 minutes, just
Right.
sit down and
at least it's one step, and I
Right.
think sometimes, like, and I've said this too, like, it's easy to get caught up in step 47 and like the big picture.
well,
but,
right, a album.
Right.
That's a crazy concept.
Like, so let me just write like one riff today,
Right.
'cause
Or
it's-
just let me practice a little bit.
Right.
Let me mess with the delay pedal. Like
right, and maybe
anything.
a riff comes out of it, or
Right.
a loop or something like that. So no, that's cool. I think that's like a ethos that seems like people out of these crazy times have been starting to kind of generate, and maybe that's, like I've said it the last few times, something that kind of goes forward with it. Talk to me. There's a concept that we were kind of talking about when we were texting back and forth setting this up that I thought was super interesting, and someone from me that kind of is like an admirer of like a more like experimental and electronic side that I've never really gotten a grasp on, just because I haven't got my hands on it, is like the uh software side versus like the hardware side, and kind of talk to me about that, like how that relates to you and like your writing process, and maybe explain that to people that are even less familiar than I am, like kind of what you mean
Sure.
by that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's a digital audio workstation, which we're all familiar with,
Right.
mostly, which you would put in record your guitar, record your drums. You can do software instruments in. So there's things that you can do in your computer, which are all based in the ones and zeros of your motherboard. Or there are hardware analog synthesizers, which use electric circuits to generate the voltages that are produce sound. It's a big, crazy, long debate about which one is better and which people prefer.
Right.
But for me, it boils down to access. So when I
Yeah.
used to sit down in Ableton, 3-4 years ago, I would open up a thing. It's like, okay, where do we start? We got an infinite amount of drum samples that we could pick from on the internet.
Right.
So what do I want to do? Do I want to do an 808 kind of thing? Do I want to go for like a jazz like drum kit?
Yeah.
And right there, you're stuck in this giant world of endless possibilities. So
Right. You're just clicking through
right,
samples.
and you never really find something you're happy with, and you always tweak it. And then I found myself endlessly starting things and just being like throwing them away
Right.
and not happy with them.
Is that because like it was close to what you wanted, but because it wasn't quite, it was like
or I
it
just
made you
felt
lose
like
some of that.
there were so many possibilities I didn't know what to do. I didn't know
Yeah.
where to go. I was
Sure.
like blinded by
like
the
overwhelming.
amount of
Yeah,
possibilities. So then I started getting into sampling. I had turntables for a while. I was doing like a little turntable DJ thing. Got really into looping and doing like a live show from that,
Mm-hmm.
which quickly transitioned into me buying some synthesizers. And one of the biggest things I had fun with was being able to not have to look at my computer screen, turn on this box of metal that has knobs and buttons and cords and things I could plug into. It tickles like a builder mentality for me. I love to work with my hands. So we were sitting there and saying like, okay, I have this synth. I can only do so many things with this synth. So let's make something out of these things that are right in front of me.
Infinite possibilities. It kind of forces
so
your
it
hand.
forces creativity to a certain degree. And then I found out about modular synthesizers, which are the most expensive route of synthesizers you can go.
All the crazy Korg stuff you see at Guitar
It's
Center
crazy.
that you just go.
Giant box with knobs and cables all flying out of it. It's crazy. But the idea there is that modular is a box of small individual units that can work together to create a bigger piece or a bigger piece of hardware.
Gotcha.
So you can take the individual elements and kind of combine them in different ways,
tweak them and such. Yeah.
Rather where a like a Prophet or a Juno or something is pretty standardly set in its architecture and how it's set up.
Do you find yourself liking like tonality wise like some of the analog things better, like just because it's kind of a debate like in the world that I come from, like people that use like things like axe effects opposed to like tube amps and things like that.
No, it's a complete like.
And I've always been a part of the like, it sucks with tube amps and things like that. There's challenges that come because of maintenance and things like that. It's way easier to plug a MacBook into a
you can take it with you on an airplane and you can create a whole album on your MacBook.
But there's something about that warmness and that roundness and
there's something about touching it. That was always the biggest thing for me is like, okay, it's right here in my room. Like I can play with it. Right. I don't have to use.
It's no fun when you have a MIDI that is every keyboard.
It disconnects me a little bit from the process.
Instead of having that one that has a finite amount of sounds on it. Right.
And one of the great lines my late friend Al always said is like, "You can't hear electricity, man." You know what I mean? So like, you don't hear the electricity. You only hear the air pressure that the speakers produce.
Right.
So it's really about
True. And also too, I guess you're not getting like the true tonality.
Never, because it's going through a digital audio converter, and it's really all about
and
the process
and all the crazy.
So that's where I became to learn to love the process. So I got samplers where I could take samples and I could create these arrangements all in these boxes right in front of me, and with my hands. It was so much more fun than having to sit there and go through a bunch of different options, and that's led to where my sound is nowadays.
Do you want to tell the people at home where they can find everything that you put out thus far? And
so
Shiny Boy and such?
Available Spotify, Bandcamp, Apple Music, Tidal, all your favorite streaming services.
iHeartRadio,
Pandora. Can't forget about
there
Pandora.
You go. Trying to think of some other deep cut ones.
Shazam. We signed up for the Shazam. So
if someone just
if it's playing somewhere and you don't know what it is, Shazam it. It might be me.
It'll come up.
You never know.
Grufton. There you go. And then Shiny Boy Press
on Instagram, and it's Grufton on Instagram as well. Find us. We got a lot of cool stuff
down here too, and we'll go over it again at the end. But I wouldn't be remiss if I told you that, of course, as always, we have some fun stuff. If you want to hop into that, some segments.
I would possibly. I'm here for the segments only. Okay, I don't like talking about myself. What is this?
Hey, I'm the same way too. I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
My mind's like, we made it through that part. Here's
Can we tweet the Rock yet?
Yeah. Hey. Yeah, we can. No, man. It's great to sit here and talk to you about some of those things, and to kind of like. The biggest thing that I've been taking away from these interviews so far has been like learning things about that, like about different aspects of art and stuff like that. Like, I'm an appreciator of like analog based music and stuff like that, but I'm so intimidated by like the barrier to entry of it, So I think like even just hearing some of that from you like makes you be like, well, shit, maybe I do go back on Reverb and see what I can find.
Well,
you know
dude,
what I mean?
We live 5 blocks from each other. You're gonna have to come over to the studio. Okay. We're building the Shiny Boy studio.
You're gonna see some 100 miles extra from Shiny Boy here soon on YouTube.
We're gonna do Wool God on the modular.
Yes, there you go.
Get ready for it.
Just gonna be me with like an like an arpeggiator, just
you can twist the filter knob.
And I'm like, dude, it sounds good. I hit 2 notes. That's what I would do every time I go to Guitar Center, and I just go up to like the crazy chords.
Yeah, hit the arpeggiator.
I just hit the arpeggiator, and I'm like, dude, I'm an artist. There we go.
You're fucking marshmallow.
Yeah, there we go. All right, we'll be right back with some segments. Okay, and we're back. We just had a good conversation about other things that we're going to bring into in a second segment, but of course, as always, we're going to bust into some segments. We're gonna bring this one back because I think it went really well the first episode. This is a little segment, as always, that we like to call Bev Check.
The Bev
The
check.
Bev Check is back, and again we have some great beverages for Dan here to try. These are from Whole Foods. We went there to grocery shop earlier, so it just made sense to do that.
You guys
Whole
are
Foods, why
bougie.
are you so expensive?
That's
the
called
first question.
some people call it whole check.
Yeah. Hey, Jeff Bezos, I think you have enough money, man.
Shout out.
Let's lower them prices, man.
Yeah.
I'm more of a Giant right there on the corner. That's where I do most of my.
I'm actually a fan of the Giant over in Hamden. It's a little nicer, a
Okay.
little more stock.
I like that. We were doing the Safeway on 25th as well. Yeah. I don't
You gotta watch out for expired products. It's
Ooh, okay. Well, good to know that. You know what's not expired? These drinks that we got.
my man.
Good segue. You like that, right?
That's perfect.
Here is our beverages, of course. Hey, even though everyone's vaxxed and we don't have to wear masks anymore, we're still gonna make sure that we use 2 different glasses.
I don't like Kyle that much.
Yeah. We can't kiss. We haven't gotten the okay to kiss our homies yet. So, the first one that we're gonna do is a returning brand. It's the Kauai Keto Cookies and Cream. It's completely plant-based. Both of these are both vegan, vegetarian, and it's made with pea protein. I
Pea
believe.
protein. Oh, that's a new
We
one.
made sure we checked that it was nut-free for
Appreciate
your
that.
allergy. That's the good point that Grace had, that we need to be checking people's
It's
allergies.
important health.
Yeah, see, I'm fortunate enough to not have any allergies.
You are
so
very
it's one of
fortunate.
those things where I forget that that's a thing that people have. So if you want, I'll go ahead and
Crack her open.
crack her open. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
I'll try to give it like maybe a shake first.
Yeah. Oh, can we? Beautiful. No, we're good with coconut. Yeah.
You scared me. I was like, fuck, dude.
I just wanted to make sure, like,
Oh yeah. Let's see. Wow, very cookies and cream reminiscent. I work in ice cream, so I know the smell of cookies and cream.
That was the thing. We were gonna get ice cream, but then I was like, you're probably so burnt out on it.
I
that-
am burnt out on ice cream, but if you ever need a source for ice cream,
Okay, there we
to
go.
Harker Brothers, shout out, local Baltimore brand support.
You'll see it on here soon, maybe on the next food out. Okay, hit him with the. There it is. You should have already seen it already, but here it is. Here, you want to do We've been doing bottom clinks for COVID
for
reasons.
COVID safety, right?
All
Okay.
right, here we go. Maybe let it sit a little bit too long, but
I think the temperature is good. It's a little thin.
it is a little thin compared to the last one. I feel like the flavor is decent though.
The flavor's present.
A little bit weird of an aftertaste. Are you getting that?
Yeah, I think the pea protein is definitely leaving a not great finish.
Kind of like a stale-ish kind of. Is that what
Yeah,
you're
a
getting?
little like grassy almost, maybe.
Yeah. That's a great.
Yeah, very thin. I'm
Very
surprised at how thin it is, actually.
It's weird because the last one we said how thick it was,
Right.
so maybe I don't know. It's good though.
It's very good, very drinkable.
If you had to give it some form of a letter grade, is there one that sticks out?
I'm gonna say B minus.
Okay. I feel like that's fair. I think the last one we gave an A. That was the chocolate banana, but I think that one has the edge over this one.
Yeah, I feel like the cookies and cream is present on the front.
Yeah.
It fades very
The
quickly,
very initial sip, you get the cookies.
but then it's gone into pea grassness.
Let me get the water for the palate cleanser real quick.
Yeah, we need that. Okay.
I like that synchronized sip that we had there.
Great minds. Something.
Yeah, there's a second part I can't remember. I mean, hey, for like being like
Yeah, let's
completely vegan,
check
and
this
it's
out a
only
little bit.
2 grams of carbs as well. 12 grams of protein,
There's
dairy
actually
free.
no sugar.
Wow.
That's
Maybe
actually,
that's why.
No, that's very surprising.
I'm
No, okay, sorry,
programmed-
1 gram. I'm
Okay.
correct myself.
Better than like the 48 grams you get in like a Coca-Cola bottle
Right,
or something.
Mexican Coke. Not bad.
Okay.
Decently healthy. Good amount of fiber, actually.
So you think it's like a good
Surprising amount of
Alternative?
saturated fat, actually. It's
How much?
not good. 12 grams. 60% of your
Surprising.
daily value.
60%?
60%.
Wow.
And 1 serving is the entire bottle.
So there's little things they
I mean,
sneak up
keto
on
friendly. Keto's real big
you. Yeah,
right
it's
now.
good keto friendly for sure.
Keto's real
Do you think a B minus?
B minus for sure, if not bordering C plus.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I would not buy again.
Would not buy, but would drink if it was there.
I didn't buy this, so
Right, yeah.
but I would not buy this on my
Okay.
own.
But if they were handing them out, you might take.
If it was
sips?
free at a conference, I would enjoy one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kawaii keto cookies and cream, not as good as the strawberry banana.
But if you're on a keto diet,
Good alternative.
look out.
We're gonna get our new glasses, not for COVID reasons, just because it would be gross to pour this into the next one.
Maybe we can mix at the end and see
There we go. See if we can combine the letter grades.
if it makes it better together.
This one we have is also some from Whole Foods. This is Evolution Fresh. It's a cold pressed fruit juice smoothie. It's an organic vital berry. It's the flavor. It's got apple, strawberry, raspberry, orange, mango, and I don't know what that last word says. Acerola?
Acerola?
Acerola? Do
That
you know what
is-
that is, Grace? No? Okay.
I hope it's a berry because it seems very berry centric.
Hit it with another shake.
Much softer shake.
Do you wanna? I'll give you the privilege this time of hitting it with the
Yeah.
crack if you'd like.
Yeah, let's crack this open. Evolution Fresh.
It's very red. Looks almost kind of like tomato juice. Interesting. I feel like this one would be thin. Yeah, I can do a little bit. Ooh, there we go. That's what you like to hear.
I'll save this for you.
All right. Do our
Bottom?
bottoms. Bottoms up. All right.
Okay, very tart.
Very tart.
Very floral. There's a lot of present notes in the.
Very like upfront.
Yes.
You know what this weirdly reminds me of? The red candy that you would get on like the Airheads ice cream.
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Kind
Yeah.
of get that tart flavor.
It really hits you in the nose when you put your mouth and when you put it in the glass.
Mm-hmm. Definitely kind of thick. I thought it was gonna be thinner,
Thicker than the cookies and cream.
which is surprising.
Very surprising.
Do you wanna?
Letter grade. Grace off camera is trying this. Letter grade, we're gonna go with a B plus. Actually,
Okay.
I actually enjoy this.
I feel like this one has a curve, like an edge over the
It's got-
other one.
I feel healthy drinking it.
Me too. I don't feel that one like if it has like the guise that it's healthy, but after diving into the facts a little bit, unless you're keto,
Stay away.
stay away. This one, I feel like it feels clean.
I feel light.
Yeah, I feel that's great. Where that one's like it's weird. The other one was thin, but it was heavy at the same time.
It's also almost gives me a strawberry lemonade kind
I
of
get that.
vibe.
If it was thinner, I think it would definitely. Oh, Grace,
Grace is enjoying
damn,
it.
okay.
Refuse to
You
give
get
the glass
the
back.
2 sips. I wanted to. You know, it's good when you're getting like multiple sips in.
Yeah, this is very refreshing actually.
Would you say that we were 2 for 2, like at least passable?
Passable.
Yeah.
Would buy if I
Would
saw
buy this one?
Yeah, I would
Okay,
say
I would
on
agree with that.
on a hot summer day.
Yes. Maybe
This
like-
one could definitely use to be a little colder.
Mm. Yeah, we let them sit because we were chatting it up.
We got a little crazy.
All right. So you said B plus for this one?
B plus. Ooh.
Yeah. How are the facts looking? Let's
Ah, man, you don't want to know how much sugar is in this.
all right. Fuck it. Don't.
You want
ruin it.
to
Don't-
take a guess?
Nah. 10 grams. Is that not a lot?
Cold.
Dude, I don't like
You're
do
real cold.
nutrition facts. Obviously.
Hit me with one more guess.
35 grams,
Still a little short of the 45 grams of sugar.
and that's just in one of those.
This is in one bottle.
All right.
So
fuck,
we're on
dude.
like a level of a Coca-Cola at that point.
It's It's just.
but
They're
it's,
tricking
I
you.
think the sugar is what makes it much more
They're
enjoyable.
tricking you at this point. Well, yeah, I guess that
The
is
pure
why
poison that they
it's
put
more
in it.
satisfying. My
I love it.
body's been corrupted by all this high fructose corn syrup for all these years.
This
But
was
fuck it.
delicious. I'm gonna drink the rest of this.
It still would get on a summer's day.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't I feel like not as good as I did when I thought it was like zero bad.
But then if you split it with a friend, you're only drinking 23 and a
Right.
half grams of
We
sugar.
still had more.
28.
So
Right.
how many percent of that? Well, I guess no sugar is percent of your daily value. It's not like a thing that your body
The
needs
allotted amount
while
of sugar.
All right. Well, I mean, hey, I'll take 2 Bs over like the vintage cola we got last time.
Yeah,
So
it
I
seemed
think,
like a bust.
yeah. Here, let me hit the. You guys should have already seen it, but there it is. Hey,
Evolution Fresh.
bring your sugars down, and maybe it could be S tier. I don't know.
Could be good for everybody.
Well, there you go. That's Bev check. Did you enjoy that?
I did enjoy that very much. I'm glad we ended on the berry. What
Yeah.
was it called? Vital
Berry.
berry.
I
Excuse
thought
me.
about doing that one first, but I wanted to go with the Kwai because I thought it was gonna be good. I thought it was a good brand. It was gonna be good, but
You seem to be off with your guesses on how these beverages are going to turn out.
yeah. Well, so it's hard. Like I could like I had the idea of just buying like crazy like off-brand, not off-brand, but like buying like Coke Orange or something
Right,
crazy like
right.
that. But I wanted to get like something off. I want to next time get like some local beverages.
Okay.
I think last time
Mm.
we got some local food on episode 2.
Okay.
So
I
we're
guess
gonna
you couldn't
try
do
to-
alcoholic. Yeah.
We do. I would.
Some mead,
I would
maybe?
drink
Like a
alcohol.
mead would
Yeah.
be a good to
Yeah.
try.
Not a big alcohol consumer, but I'd have a couple sips enough for a grade. But hey, maybe we could get like some Zeke's coffee or
Zeke's?
things like
Okay,
that.
right.
You know, I'm not a big
Ceremony?
coffee drinker. Ceremony coffee, that's a
great
good
coffee.
one. All right, cool. Well,
Wonderful.
that's Bev
Wonderful
check.
bed check. Thank you for the beverages,
Thank you.
friends.
Of course, yeah. Something to kind of get us right here. The next segment that we prepared is a little bit more of an open-ended segment. It's a little more out there, but it's something that's near and dear to my heart. We were going to call it the Spoopy Stories, but I didn't want to get it just to ghost on the paranormal thing. I'm a lover of everything from Bigfoot to aliens to what's that one thing called? See, obviously I'm such a lover, I can't even think of it. The thing where like things change over time.
Animorphs?
Well, yeah,
You're
but
talking
I'm
about
thinking of
the
like
graphic novel?
Berenstain Bears,
Oh,
Berenstain
the
Bears,
Mandela effect. I was
Mandela
just talking
effect.
about this at work the other day.
crazy
actually.
things like that, So we're gonna call it the paranormal pause. I feel like that's a little more
Paranormal pause.
open-ended. And I had asked you before if you had any upfront kind of ghost or paranormal experiences, and you said like none super direct. Is that correct?
No specific paranormal experiences. I would say I've, like we were talking during the break, and I had this experience when I was camping in a place called Cherry Springs State Park. It's a stargazing event, and I saw some phenomenal things I saw in the stars where there seemed like tubes or wormholes maybe connecting stars.
And you said you could see everything because there was no
You
light
could
pollution.
see the
right?
Milky Way. We saw
Jeez.
the space station. We met up with these people. They had telescopes,
Oh,
and
wow.
the telescopes were connected to their computer, so they could track the space station. So I looked through a telescope, and it was tracking the space station across the sky.
Space is like so scary, but
And I think that's like
interesting
a
at the same time.
paranormal enough experience
Oh,
in
yeah,
its
for
own.
sure.
Like just the fact that
you were able
also
to see
you're
that.
able
yeah.
to see this. And I sat in a hammock while I was looking at the stars at night, and the feeling of floating while looking at the stars and seeing the Milky Way turn ever so slightly in the sky really disconnects you from the ground and gives
Yeah.
you this perspective that we are on a fucking rock.
Did it make you feel very
I was just
insignificant,
like-
like a little speck at that point?
Like we're floating in space.
It's crazy. Like Earth probably seems like a speck, so let alone one.
And then every star
Living
you look
organism.
at could possibly have other
Right.
Earth-like planets.
Right. Well, yeah, we have the sun, and it has what? How many planets? Is Pluto a planet still, or no?
Technically not.
Is it 8 planets?
8
then?
planets.
So if we have 8 within our solar system, there could be 8 plus for each star that you see in
Each
the
star. And
sky.
they say there's billions and billions of stars.
God, dude, that freaks me out, but I'm so interested at the same time.
So what do you? Okay, so let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you believe in extraterrestrial life?
Yeah, I think just statistically there has to be. I think even if I always say this, if we had confirmation that there was like a single cellular organism on Mars, like a bacteria that was single cellular, that would change the world forever.
You think so?
I think so because I think all the people, I think like for people like me and you that are more open to it, we'd be like, yeah, duh.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
right.
But for people that are like maybe super religious or like are deniers, like you can't change that there's something living, even if it's a single cellular organism. I think
Right.
that would change.
Well, I think there's an interesting argument for people that don't believe in evolution to maybe not also
Mhm.
believe that microbial life could be a
Right.
significant sign of life.
That's what I think. Like, obviously, if there was like straight up sentient, conscious beings, obviously that would definitely changed the world forever. And there's been like some crazy stuff coming out recently that they've been
Oh,
declassifying.
the UFO,
Yeah.
the Navy footage.
Right. And there's been a lot of people that are retired coming out about that. But I think even just that, even just like a speck of, I think like even when we found that there was water on Mars at some point, or
Big deal.
big deal, So even if we found like, some kind of, like I said, single cellular organism, I think like, fuck, dude, that just opens the doors.
So follow-up question.
Yeah.
Do you think we've been visited
I think so.
in the history of human life?
Yeah, I think I'm very much a believer in like the ancient alien stuff. I think if you
Okay.
look back on some of the hieroglyphics and stuff, a lot of like these gods that come from the sky, could they be stories? Sure. Could they actually be literal gods from the sky? Maybe. I think it's more likely that they're probably aliens that were so technologically
Right.
advanced they seem like godlike.
Well, and it's also,
creatures.
if you look at it, how would a Roman describe a spacecraft?
Right.
They would describe it as a flaming chariot,
Right, and a
which-
giant beaming light from the sky.
which there are
Right.
multiple descriptions of flaming
Right. Well, I
chariots
think
and
people would even now describe that with the technology that we have. So especially
as some
something as
type of blimp
primitive.
or tic-tac shaped plane,
Right.
Which we're hearing stories
or
of
even
all
like
the time.
I think Egypt's the biggest example of it because of like the pyramids, how they've proven that it's kind of scientifically impossible for the angle and the perfect precision at which they were done. Also, don't a lot of like the pyramids in Gaza like line up with constellations?
Did you know the
perfectly as
pyramids
well?
are also perfectly aligned to north and south?
Did not know that. See,
Yes.
things like that. How do they? I mean, obviously, I'm sure they had cartographers and people like that that knew somewhat of latitude, longitude, but
And they say they had maps of the entire world back then.
right,
Antarctica included.
They
When they
had
didn't,
like the Library of Alexandria,
and they supposedly didn't have seafaring ships at the time.
right. So I think something gave them some form of insider technology
Had
that
to be.
probably would be godlike, and they probably are on some level.
And there's also there's a saying, any technology that you couldn't explain
Mhm.
would be explained as magic.
Yeah. No,
If
that's
you
a
didn't
great point.
understand that
Right.
technology,
If you were to show someone from the 1800s an iPhone
they'd
right
be
now,
like,
they'd be
"That's
like,
witchcraft.
"What the
We need to
fuck?"
burn you and throw you in a
Right.
lake with a
Another set.
cinder block tied to your foot." And that happened.
Right. And I think just statistically, like, if the universe is as big and infinite as we say it is, and I think that's pretty widely accepted,
Yes.
to think that we're the only thing there is just so narcissistic, I
Arrogant.
think. So arrogant. Like, even if they're not, like, grays or whatever, if they're just, there's birds on, like, another planet
All
or
right. So
something.
let's take a little twist on this.
Okay, hit me.
Have you heard of the theory that aliens visiting us now
hmm
are us in the future?
Yeah, so I've heard that. I've also seen, like, there's, like, a thing that I read, like, years ago that was, like, our solar system is actually Earth in different stages of... So that's why Mars and Earth, it's, like, after the Earth's resources are depleted.
Oh
And
man,
then
you're gonna send me right
after
down the
it
rabbit
died,
hole.
like, that's what end up as Pluto, like, this blue dwarf planet that is desolate. And
That makes
and,
so much sense.
Yeah, and that's kind of, like, almost like
The
a...
stages of Earth's
stages
life.
of Earth. Mercury started there. It's like an inhabitable, small, hot planet. Venus
Mars,
starts to expand.
and then Mars was right after it had an
right after we
oxygen-rich
had to
atmosphere.
get out of our planet. Yeah.
Right.
It's interesting to think about. That's the thing about all this. I don't rule any of it out. It's all...
And I find the entanglement of human species and AI technology,
Mhm.
they say that they're going to intertwine each other eventually, so that maybe the probes that aliens send now could just be an infusion of AI. And,
Right. And I think, too, like, people always say, like, why would aliens want to watch humans? Like, why do we watch, like, bugs?
Why do we have zoos?
Right, because we can probably try and learn something about ourselves from watching these...
And we're curious beings
curious
by
people.
nature.
So, like, if they
Um,
can travel to different planets, you don't think that they can watch us out of sight, out of mind? For sure they can.
Of course.
Because I don't think a lot of animals know that there's, like, a camera up in that
And
tree.
also, if they operate on higher frequencies of thinking than we do, we would
Might
have
even
no
see 'em,
idea what
yeah.
they were.
Right,
Like an ant has no idea what a human is,
right. We could have met an alien. They were just suited up.
or they
Or
were a
physically cannot
entity
see
that
them.
we could not see.
Yeah.
Some type of gaseous, fourth dimensional. Yeah, we could go on for hours about this.
Fuck, I love this stuff.
I'd love it.
This will be... Stay tuned for 100 Miles. There might be a Dan and Kyle Explores the Universe podcast in a couple
We
months.
Might, I could talk about Bigfoot for a couple hours.
Dude, have you seen the Sasquatch thing on
I
Hulu?
have a fucking hand-sized Sasquatch tattoo on my thigh.
Yes.
I love
We
Sasquatch. He's
support
out
that
there.
here. You think The Rock's ever seen the Sasquatch?
He might be.
He might be
Sasquatch.
Sasquatch, right? You like that segue as well?
That was perfect.
Perfect, yeah. I have to put a cap on us at some point because I know that
because
me and you were
aliens
just
really
getting
could
started.
we
Right.
might have to actually start another podcast about
That's what I'm
aliens.
saying. Hey man, I'm down. I got a couple
The
others I
parent
want to
100
do.
miles pause.
Yeah, the full. There might be like 100 miles extra. That's just us fully going into it. But once again, as always, I think this has become a popular segment, so I'm gonna try and do it every single time because why not? And he's gotta, if we get hundreds of episodes deep, he's gotta. Lost some of my shoelaces, like definitely untied. Um, he's gotta reply to us eventually. He's got
He's
hundreds of
got to
tweets.
at least be aware
Yeah,
at some point.
at some point as this grows, maybe we'll get on our radar. Like maybe the goal is like he doesn't tweet us, he's just like in the studio one time. That would be great.
Or
That
he
would-
does like a tour around here. Maybe we could show up
Right.
backstage
he
and do an
sends us like
interview.
a cameo video.
Right.
That's like him on.
I mean, he is actively on Instagram interacting with
that's
his
what I'm
fans.
saying. He's like filming Fast and Furious 47, and he finally
I
hits
thought it
us
was
up.
49.
Might be. I don't think they're stopping ever. Hey man, after Paul Walker died, do you think that they weren't gonna stop then? They're never stopping. They're gonna
Never.
keep going until Vin Diesel.
What do
can't
you think
it
they'll ever
anymore.
move into electric cars in Fast and the Furious? Like
Just
Teslas?
hoverboards?
Right. Tesla.
Nah, dude, they
just
need
racing
like
Teslas.
cool guy muscle cars.
It'll be
forever.
silent. It'll just be like
Yeah, yeah, it's like the scene is
Right.
just like
right.
them drifting.
They're
in
going
around
really
the corner.
fast, but it's completely
Yeah,
silent.
completely silent. Fuck no, dude. I say they just keep going back. They just get like these crazy like horse and buggy and they're flipping it
They
around.
yeah, right. They start time traveling.
Right.
It's Back to the Future.
But once again, as always, it's time to tweet the Rock. So I let this marinate in your brain for a little bit, and that's kind of why I'm letting everyone know that we're tweeting The Rock every single time, so that way they can think about it, right? So they can think about what they want to say to
Yeah.
The Rock, which he may or may not see. I'd like to think at the end of the day he's scrolling and might see it. Maybe he doesn't reply, but he at least kind of goes like, "What is that?"
Or maybe someone that is managing one of his accounts is like, hey, there's some people that talk about you once a week
Right.
or twice every other week.
Right. So you should probably give
You
them
might
like
wanna
a petty like or
Be in
something
tune
like that.
to what they're saying about you.
Right. So
All right. So,
Well, first, let me say, if you, as always, if you look off camera to your right, there's something that's
Oh.
folded up.
I think it's time.
I think it's time. Feel free to,
Can I wear it?
you can please, hey man, we're only one guest. Lamore didn't want to wear it. Jadoni wore it. Dan's gonna wear it. I hope our next guest certainly wears it. I hope every guest going forward doesn't, just to make him seem like the party pooper.
All right, Mr. Johnson. So, upon knowing about this Tweet the Rock situation, I did some investigating into your life, and I found out you are the holder of 5,
Wow.
not 4, not 3, not 2, not 1, 5
5.
different Guinness World Records.
I think The Rock might be the most interesting man in the world. That's crazy.
Kyle, do you have any idea what those records may be?
So if I had to guess, just going off like what I know about The Rock, he's very athletic. I
Sure.
would say that maybe one, this is just me, he's maybe like, it's because of like the amount of money he's grossed as an actor. Is that one of them?
That is one of them.
Okay.
Yes, he's
Highest,
holds the Guinness World Record for the highest grossing actor.
like accumulative,
Yes.
like box office.
I believe
Okay.
it was between the period of like 2014 2016 or
Okay,
something.
there's that. If I had to guess, like a number 2, maybe like world's sexiest man.
That's not a category.
Yeah, fuck. Dude,
But he would have won
would.
that. That was
Well, at least we have a nominee.
good guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And my third final guess, I could sit here all day. He's got so many qualities. Maybe something with like it's gonna be like a 2-parter. Maybe like amount of calories eaten in one day because he does like those cheat meals. Although there's
eats-
probably some strong men that do like way more.
He eats 7 meals a day.
Okay. Wow. Maybe also like social media followers.
Okay, so spin off on that. Very close.
Okay.
So the world record he holds, which I think was beaten, unfortunately, but was for the most amount of selfies in 3 minutes. The Rock took, hang on,
I
He
love
took-
him. I love him.
105 selfies in 3 minutes at his premiere of the movie
105.
105.
I think we could beat it. Honestly,
I think so.
I think we could. But is that one still up or is that one beaten?
It was beaten, I believe.
Okay.
We need to look into it.
We
a
need to
little
get
more.
the updated number. I
But
think
when
we
he
could beat that.
this record, it was 105 selfies in 3 minutes at his premiere of the San Andreas movie.
Okay, terrible movie, but okay.
He wasn't in any good movies.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So we have the highest grossing actor. That's 1. Selfies 2.
Okay.
3. Highest grossing first time lead role in his classic movie The Scorpion.
Okay.
Great flick. You should
Yeah,
go
it's
check
great
it out.
flick, great flick.
Oh, this is gonna throw you for a curveball here.
Okay, I'm down.
Number 4. the world's largest 5-layer taco dip, which is produced by his production company $7. Shout out. They produced a
How
540-pound 5-layer.
the fuck?
You should definitely put
That's
up
like
a picture of this.
ton, right?
It was in a like aquarium tank.
Isn't it 2,000 pounds as a ton?
I
So
think it's a
like
little over
quarter
2,000. It's
ton
like
taco
quarter
dip?
ton taco dip.
Oh my god.
World
dude.
record.
Okay.
I may
These
blank
are
on the
so
fifth one.
random. What the fuck?
The fifth one is escaping me right now. But my tweet for The Rock is going to be,
Okay.
what is the next world record you will beat?
Damn.
What could it be? There's a lot of world
I'm
records
trying to
out there.
think of what The Rock could do. I
But
mean,
with that track record of world
Right.
records, it could be anything.
it could be anything. He doesn't seem like stuck to one genre. The selfie one is kind of crazy. I mean, that one I feel like we could beat.
Maybe we should get The Rock to reclaim his record for the selfies.
Yes, and we could be two
We could
of the
hopefully-
people. We could fly out to the next premiere
Yes.
and be two of the people.
We should
Okay.
definitely, we need to be in that selfie.
So he either needs to reclaim a new one
or
reclaim his old one or get a new
he
one.
needs to get back up to 5, is
Okay.
what I'm saying.
Okay. He's right. He's only at 4.
He lost one of them.
Oh my god. He's the most interesting man in the world, I
He
think.
really, I know nothing about The Rock before this, and I'm very fascinated now.
I'm glad.
And
hey,
I'm
man.
glad I was able to
If we
wear
could
this.
convert somebody to be a fan, I'm glad. As always, do you want to get a picture that we could send to him for a little bit of
I would
visual,
love, yes.
visual
Yeah.
representation? That's us cheering him on to get that world record.
World record.
We listen, Rocky.
Come
We
on.
know you can do it. I love watching Young Rock. His new show. Have you ever seen it?
I have not.
You should watch it. Although it's kind of more for the wrestling fan, I will say. But
Not-
it's just a good,
Not into that.
lighthearted show.
But listen, Mr. Johnson, 200 selfies in 3 minutes needs to happen.
You
Or
got-
another world
you only
record.
need to find how many did you say? 200.
200.
You only need to find 198 people because you got two right here.
We're in it.
We're in.
And we got a jersey too. We need it signed.
God, I got that on eBay and it's one of the best purchases I've ever had.
It's very
I think if
comfy.
there's one so far that he would reply to, it's this one. There's a call to action in it.
There
You know, it's
is.
it's us knowing more about him, and we're kind of like, listen, man, we believe in you.
Like,
You can do this.
We're inspired by
Right.
the
The
Rock.
Rock.
not just a rock,
The Rock.
the Rock. Very inspirational. It's a great way to end this.
It is. Dan, it was great to talk to you.
Kyle, I'm so glad you had me on. This has been a pleasure.
Of course, once I was already thinking about you because I was seeing some of the Shiny Boy press stuff and wanting to reach out to artists. You know, I'm fortunate enough to know people through music and stuff like that, but in my own little circle. But it would be easy for me to stick to like my friends, you know, that are my immediate friends. You know, for me to kind of branch out and go to people that were my friends I haven't seen in a while.
Right.
It's like a win-win. Help them with the things that they're doing, reconnect with them, and I mean, dude, I think we're gonna have the Alien podcast coming up soon. And as always, if you want to let the camera know where they can find you, where they can find Shiny Boy, if there's anything else that you have coming up or Shiny Boy, please let the people know where they can find you.
So it's Instagram at Grufton, GRUFTON. Instagram at Shiny Boy Press. It's all one word, Shiny Boy Press. I'm not going to spell it out. We got a YouTube. We got a video on there from Walsh's release, Ginger's Palace, which is a jazz trio album. Fantastic listen. Good, easy listening. Read a book, music. Or take a nice
Yes.
drive.
Hey,
Whatever you like to
love doing
do,
both of
easy listening vibes. We got a lot of good stuff coming out of Shiny Boy. Keep your ears open. Keep your minds open.
yes.
We're going to have some collaborations. We're going to have some new artists. We're going to talk about aliens. We're going to talk about The Rock. We're going to talk about Bigfoot. We're going to make some crazy sounds. It's going to be a good time. And we
What-
hope you're there.
What more could you want from something like that? As always, you can find all of us on Instagram at 100 Miles Media. You can find me on Instagram at WoolGod. You can find me on Twitter at WoolXGod. Wow. That was great. So
this
many
is
things
fantastic.
accomplished.
Yeah.
Great talk about music, a lot of educational things about music that I appreciate, some educational things about space and time, and some educational things about The Rock. I
The
thought
Rock.
I knew everything I knew about him. I didn't
Yeah, I
know
don't-
that he held 5, well now 4 Guinness World Records.
Also,
but-
last tidbit
we're
I have
thinking
about
of
The
it.
Rock.
yes.
He's third place in the world for the most Instagram followers. He's right behind Ariana Grande, and unfortunately, Cristiano Ronaldo. He's a little bit above you. You might need to get a little sexier, Rock.
All right. Well, Rock, we believe in you, man. 5 world records, most Instagram followers. You've already accomplished everything else. Let's get you those last 2. That's what you need to get you your flowers. As always, Thanks for watching 100 Miles from Home. We'll have Dan on soon enough again. Shiny Boy Press, Grufton, watch it all, listen to it all, and we'll see you guys next time.
Cheers.